All right, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to create a simple animation. It's so fun to make things come to life for students inside Amplify Classroom. And of course, there's lots of different ways to do it, but I'm going to show you one simple way so you can get started making some lessons really pop for students. So let me first show you what I mean. So let's hop over here real quick. Here's a short example. And if I click on the screen, notice I have a graph here and I've got a button up here at the top right. And I press that button and suddenly we have a basketball kind of going across the screen, following the path of that parabola or that graph there. And so we're going to do that. We're going to build this and start exploring what an animation could actually look like. And so I'm going to hop back over here to Amplify Classroom. I'm going to go in, as always, to My Stuff. There's a Create Activity button down here at the bottom too. And I'm going to go ahead and call this animation. You can call it whatever you want to. And let's go ahead and create our new activity. And so what's actually happening here is we really only have two components. We have a graph, and then we have that button that's making stuff happen on the screen. So let's first start by pulling out what we need. So the first thing we need is this graph right here. And then we're going to use an action button alongside it. And I'm going to put that action button below it. It'll appear on it. You can also put it above it, totally up to you where you put it. But let's keep it this way, either above or below, so we can create that full screen experience for students. So the first thing we need to do is we need to go inside the graph and we need to put some stuff. So I selected the graph, I clicked on it, I'll do that again. So I'm going to edit graph, I'm going to click on it. And the first thing I need to do is create the path of the kind of projectile that I want. You can use whatever type of equation or whatever type of thing you want to use, but I'm just going to come in here and say f of x equals, and I'm going to use -1/2 x squared, and I'm using the up arrow, which is on 6, to make the square. Let's do +5x. And so I've got my graph. It's kind of appearing over here to the right. A couple things I'm going to do here to tweak it just a little bit. I just want it to go from 0 to 10. So I'm going to kind of bound it using the brackets up there at the top right of my keyboard and kind of bound it between 0 and 10 here. So it's just going to travel from 0 to 10. And then I also don't like it's kind of off there over in the screen. So I'm going to adjust my window. You can use the tool up here, but I'm going to kind of drag over and kind of get everything where I want, maybe even zoom out a little bit. There's a little button if you hit the wrench where you can kind of get your kind of bounds a little bit closer to what you want them to be. So I want this more like, I don't know, we're going to go from maybe -1 to kind of 12 here. And notice it's kind of funky. And so a lot of times what I like to do is hit this zoom square button and I'll kind of clean it up. And if I need to, I can zoom out just a tiny bit more. That looks a lot better. I like the look of that now. So using that zoom square and changing the bounds, you can get the exact look that you want for your graph. The one other subtle thing that I did is I made it a dashed line. You can hover over this and make it dashed if you want to, or even dotted with your graph, but I like it dashed. It looks more fun that way. And so we've got the path of what we're going to animate. This is what it's going to travel on. And so now I need to kind of bring in my image. So I'm going to hit the plus. I want an image. I had a basketball ready to go. So there's my basketball and it's really big. It's kind of bloated. I need to fix it. So let's do that. Let's change a few things on it. The first thing I'm going to change is the width. Let's just make it 1 and make it the height 1. So it's a little bit better there. You can make it bigger or smaller how you want to. You can even set some variables that change here if you want to. There's all sorts of things you can do with height and width. But for simplicity, let's just do that, 1 and 1. And you can use whatever image you want to. I just had this picture of this basketball. And then I want it to travel along that function. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some variable to represent the time that that ball moves. And that variable I'm going to choose to use as t. So we're going to call that time, t there. And then for my y part of my center of my graph, I'm going to use f of t. So we're going to plug in the value of t inside my function. So t is going to go inside this function, and the height will change based on the height of that function as it goes. So, and of course, it's yelling at me right now. It's giving me this orange because I need for a slider for t. Now notice as I move t, my basketball moves. It's animating. I love that. That's great. That's beautiful. The one other thing I'm going to do is I don't like that my basketball is behind the graph. So I'm going to hover over it and I'm going to click this where it says place behind graphs. I'm going to get rid of it. So there we go. So now it's in front of my graph. So now I'm set up where I want it to go. Now I need to kind of hook this thing up. I need to do my connections. I need to connect this image to that button so that animation will appear. So I'm going to hit done here and I'm going to go down to my button. Here's my button label. I'm just going to say press. So that will be what's on the button. And I need to name this button because I'm going to use information from this component. So let's name it button 1. So I labeled that component. And now I'm going to pull information from button 1 into my graph. So I need to go into the computation layer of the graph. So here it is, my computation layer. Let's hop in there. And then remember I had that variable t that was assigned to my basketball, how it moved. I need to connect that variable t to that button I just created. So I'm going to type number. So n and then number t, and that is going to be connected to that button. And so we're going to call it button 1. So if I hit B, button 1, what I labeled it, dot time since pressed, that first one. So the time since I pressed that button, that is now going to be hooked up to T. And I can quantify how long I want it to be by putting a number here in the parentheses, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it like that. So now what we've done is we've connected that T to the time since my button is pressed. And if I go and hit preview now, notice I've gotten my button, it says press, and I push it, suddenly that basketball is animating and going across the screen. So you can see it moving there as it goes from 0 to 10. So amazing, I love it. Let's add just a couple of tweaks before we end here. A couple other things folks like to do with buttons and with animations. One of the things I can do inside the button itself is I can add kind of a reset label. And so if I hit my kind of computation layer and I come in here inside the button computation itself, I'll do that one more time, inside the computation layer here. And I can type a reset label. So if I hit R, notice reset label comes up, and I'm just going to type the word reset. So that's going to give a little more dynamic to the button so people will know when they've pressed it and they can reset it and start over. And then I didn't like that that basketball was traveling kind of slow. So I can go in and tweak my equation a little bit. So if I hit edit graph and hop in here, there's a couple different ways you can do it. But instead of T, I don't know, let's do 3T. Let's get crazy with it. Let's add a 3 in there. And so now it's going to move a lot faster. I'm really curious to see how fast it moves. And so I'm going to hit done here. Let's preview it. Let's see what it looks like. Let's push that button. We should, if we did it correctly, get a reset label up here, and our basketball should be traveling faster. And there it goes. Look at that thing go across as we created our animation. Now I can hit reset and start over and press the button again as my basketball goes. So hopefully you enjoyed this quick look at an animation. We're really just scratching the surface here, but just enough to show you how you can connect that button to things inside the graph to make things occur and happen on your screen.